start with a report from Jeremy Fowler after a quick word from the Home Builders Association. Give big this year with the Home for the Holidays raffle. You have a chance to win a beautiful new custom home or a cash prize this holiday season, and help make wishes come true for Make-A-Wish kids with critical illnesses. Raffle proceeds benefit Make-A-Wish OKI, which has granted over 22,000 wishes to children facing critical illnesses across Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana since 1983. This year's house is a custom-built ranch by Petros Homes and has 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a 3-car garage. Also includes some amazing features like a great room with vaulted ceilings, an unbelievable kitchen, and a mudroom with open lockers, and a unique pet shower station. One lucky winner will be announced on December 24th, so get your $100 ticket now. Just visit ahomefortheholidays.org to buy your tickets. That's ahomefortheholidays.org, just like you see on your screen. Terms and conditions apply. All right, guys, Jeremy Fowler put out a report yesterday that caught a lot of people's attention, not just by what he said, but by the timing of the situation. This is what Jeremy Fowler said in regards to the future of one Kevin Stefanski. And I quote, "Kevin Stefanski's future comes up often in my conversations with people in the league due to the Browns' 6-23 record the past 2 seasons. Another reason his name comes up, several executives and coaches I've spoken to believe he'd be a prime candidate for a head coaching job elsewhere should Cleveland move on after the season. Quote, he's a good coach, experienced 2-time coach of the year. Cleveland's a hard place to win, an AFC executive said. He might need a fresh start elsewhere." Fowler continued, "This year's candidate pool is considered weaker than in previous years, which benefits a coach with Stefanski's credentials. If let go, Stefanski would have the option to pursue a head coaching job right after or take a year off like Mike Vrabel did after leaving Tennessee. That typically depends on what might be open a year from now, the viability of the candidate, and whether the coach is simply burned out and needs a year. But the 2 jobs currently open could use a mix of offensive acumen and experience, a mold that Stefanski fits." What do you guys think about the report in general, but more specifically, the timing of this coming out now as opposed to earlier or later in the season?
I mean, the timing makes sense. The Browns have been one of the worst teams in football the last 2 years.
And we're getting towards the end of the season and the coaching cycle starts.
Right. When you coach one of the worst teams in football in consecutive years, you usually get fired. Mm-hmm. To me, the report's irrelevant. You know, if I were the Steelers, I don't know that I'd fire Mike Tomlin, but I would talk to Mike Tomlin about, like, I wouldn't want to fire him. You know, I'd find a way to make it a mutual decision. And Mike Tomlin's a way better coach, obviously, than Kevin Stefanski. But the point is, like, I think Mike Tomlin, to me, assuming they don't make the playoffs and they don't make a playoff run, I think it's time for a fresh start. Like, the Steelers need a new voice. Mike Tomlin's been there a long time. Andy Reid was in Philadelphia. Probably, didn't necessarily need to be fired. He's gone to Kansas City. It's worked out well for both sides. Yeah. Mike Tomlin would have a job way before Kevin Stefanski would have a job. Yeah. So I think it's irrelevant whether other people would want him or not. Jason's said the same thing that Jeremy Fowler said for 2 years. So it's not.
Yeah, but now it's a topic because Jeremy Fowler said it.
By the way,
I knew there'd be outrage for
Jason. I was about to give you credit and say, so who cares that Jeremy Fowler said it? It's not breaking news because Jason's been saying it.
Take it all back now.
I don't necessarily believe it, but
I think the
whatever.
difference is, I don't know. I didn't read the piece. I apologize for that. I don't know. Did Jeremy? He never would. He wouldn't name executives.
No.
I think when you've said this in the past, Jay, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm just going off memory here. You've said it kind of like it's just a known fact that if he gets let go, someone's going to pick him up. I don't know that you ever framed it as, look, I have conversations with execs around the league. This guy will get hired, and that's
both.
what Jeremy's doing.
It's both.
Okay. I apologize.
The only time where I really have access to a lot of people across the league is at the owners' meetings, the combine, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And so you just, the owners' meetings particularly, you just have a lot of casual conversations with a lot of different people.
Sure. And
you get a pulse for what people think about different organizations, not necessarily just Cleveland, just in general. You have a lot of conversations. So, this isn't a surprise to me. I tend to agree, like, that can't really cloud the Browns' thinking one way or the other, though. And
right, it's irrelevant.
To do.
Yeah,
but I do find it amusing. Like, that was going to be my opening line. It's like, guys, I've been saying this for a year.
I mean, you should be ripping Mike. It should be a hate to Mike.
But it's just funny to me because, like, it's a talking point all over Cleveland, and there's like this huge conspiracy theory of, well, why are they releasing this now? Well, guys, like, sometimes we go down way too many rabbit holes that you don't need to pursue. This is actually self-explanatory. He wrote a piece that also included what the league felt about Shedeur. So as someone who has written pieces like that before, it's really not any more complicated than Jeremy was checking around on Shedeur. What do you think of Shedeur? And while you're having those conversations, inevitably, the coach is going to come up in a situation like this.
A lot of crossover there.
It's really not any more complicated than that. It's not a setup of some sort of conspiracy of trying to set Kevin up for a second. It's none of that. It's a reporter talking to people across the league saying, what do you think about this quarterback that's gotten all this attention? How do you think he's played? What else is going on? Hey, what do you think about the job Kevin's done? That's it.
Yeah.
It's really not any...
Bull talks about this all the time. We live in the age of conspiracy theories.
God.
And it really is mind-numbing.
terrible.
Everything is a conspiracy.
And everything is. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always two sides of it. It doesn't matter. As long as there is a forum for everybody with an opinion to share said opinion, there is going to be counter sides, and there's going to be all kinds of discussions of conspiracy theories. I agree with both you guys.
Yeah.
The timing of this is obvious. We're nearing the end of a football season.
He's won 6 games in 2 years.
Right? Like, this is what happens when you get... And by the way, they're having these conversations in Pittsburgh about Mike Tomlin and in various places across the NFL.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
On average, I think it's anywhere from 6 to 8 coaches lose their job
That's right.
the first week of January. And that's just... It's always going to be that way. And if you're making a list of coaches whose seat is hot and Stefanski isn't on it, you need a new list.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's common sense. Yes, his seat is very warm. We're going to talk about something later in the show that I actually, or it might be it's in the Channel 3 show. A little plug down to watch us at 12:30 on Channel 3. We're going to talk a little bit about, does this draft class give Kevin and Andrew a little grace into coming back for 26? And I think that's a legitimate question. But in terms of, is this a conspiracy theory? The timing is weird. No, it's not. It's the end of the coaching. It's the end of the season. Coaches are always talked about as being replaced. Do I agree with Jeremy Fowler? 100%. Just like I've said with Jason all along. Yes, there is a job for this man in the NFL. Now, you mentioned Andy Reid. Was a guy who just needed a change of venue. Tomlin might be there too. So the voice gets old.
Yeah, but those guys had tremendous success.
That's a different thought.
I'm getting there.
Right.
I'm getting there. So Andy Reid needed a new place to do it. He went. He's won multiple Super Bowls. The same thing can be said for Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy did not win a Super Bowl in Tampa. I was there during the transition. His voice had just grown stale. They needed a rah-rah guy. They brought in Gruden. The next year they won the Super Bowl. And what happens? Tony Dungy finally knocks the Super Bowl off his to-do list in Indianapolis a few years later with Peyton Manning. I'm not suggesting that Kevin's going to go on to another team and win a Super Bowl. Somewhere in there, in the NFL landscape, and it might be a gap year. It might be a year where he does media. I hope not. He doesn't say much. Let me just tell all my friends in the media that now. But could he do something in the media? Sure. Could he do what other coaches have recently done? We saw Mike Vrabel do it. Just kind of take a in-residence year, where he shows up in Kansas City and works under Andy Reid for a year and then takes a job. And that way, it's a window, it's a snapshot of what's available. What might be available this year might not be a great situation. If you sit out, do a gap year, and study under somebody and come back, then perhaps the snapshot of jobs that are available in the next cycle are more appealing and he jumps back in. I don't know, but he'll work in this league. There's no question in my mind he will work in this league. And no, it's not a conspiracy.
Let me tell you about these conspiracy theories. The conspiracy theories in the NFL are the reason we have jobs.
Fact.
That is the reason we are here. The NFL and everything in the media blew up because we could talk about sports 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, when you talk about something 24 hours, 7 days a week, is that going to always be factual information? No, it's going to be a lot of emotional and guys saying different things and people have an opinion, and there's a place in the market for it. That's just what the game is. Now, in terms of Kevin Stefanski, this is what the game is, guys. Like, look, just like if one of us was to say, you know what, we're leaving UCSS. You make an announcement, I'm leaving UCSS, right? Behind the scenes, or you leave in a different place, or you're going to another job, behind the scenes, Everybody does maneuvering. You think people leave jobs and don't got no backup plan? You think people don't be talking to people? There's program directors. You could do radio. You could do television. Maybe you want to be a journalist. You want to do a podcast with somebody. There's 7, 8 different opportunities for you to go if you're moving from somewhere. And it's no different from coaches. Kevin Stefanski is a guy who's plugged in. He comes, and this is why in coaching, I tell you this. When I wanted to be a GA at one point in time, they said, G-Bush, GA ain't for you, right? You tell the truth too much. You talk too much. And you too loud and you emotional sometimes. You can't be emotional as a coach because there was a thing called a coaching fraternity, right? You say the good things, you say the right things, and if you're a good soldier and you're competent and you got a track record of some sort of success, he has 2 coaches of the years, guess what? He's going to get a job somewhere else. You just got to figure out what job it is. Now, here's the thing about having a second opportunity. I'm not sure that he gets a head coaching job immediately. However, could I see him being a coordinator immediately? Sure. I'm not Xing it out the fact that he could be a coach somewhere. Somebody who it's always a change of the guards. Kevin Stefanski may take over for somebody who is emotional or is a guy that is more of a player's coach, and Kevin Stefanski is a more reserved analytical coach. And maybe that works with a certain quarterback. Maybe that works with a certain offense. Maybe his skill set fits up to that. And by the way, I always give people a little opportunity and a little grace. When you leave one job and you go to another one, you have an opportunity to look back on what you did wrong in one job and add to that and get better and say,
Bill Belichick.
Yeah, you know what I did wrong with it? I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have spoke up a little earlier about the quarterback situation. I wish I wouldn't have said that. I think I should have been more forthright with the media. And maybe he takes a year to learn that and come back and do it. Like I always said, you got an opportunity as a person. Everybody got an opportunity to make amends and to change their game. Your destiny is in your hands. Now, to see if Kevin Stefanski is going to do it, we don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a year off and goes around and looks. I mean, the coaches do that all the time. So I do think he has a lot of people that like Kevin Stefanski in the industry. And if people like you, that's half the battle right there.
He's very well respected. He's got a lot of connections. I have no idea if he's going to get fired or not. I don't know.
And he gets a bit of a pass because it's the Browns.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get to that in a second. He gets a huge pass because it's the Browns. But if it does go this way, I think he should take a year off. I think that is so beneficial because when you are living this 365, and especially the poison he has ingested the last 2 years, I'm serious.
Your mental health, you need a break.
I'm serious.
He turned into Snow White.
I do think it would be interesting, though, Jason, to see him be an offensive coordinator on a team with a good quarterback. I would be curious to see that.
Where that's all he had to worry about, too.
Right.
Offense.
Just the offensive coordinator. I don't know if he'd do that.
I think he'll get another head coaching job. I've said that. But I do think he should make the decision of, you know what, I'm going to go be a dad for a year. I'm going to go home and be a dad. His kids are in that early teen years age. They could use dad around more. I'm sure they would love that. And I just remember talking to Mike Brown. Mike obviously had a job very early coaching LeBron. And then he got fired. He went to L.A. and he coached 1 year and he got fired coaching Kobe. And that was very damaging to his career that he was fired that quickly. And then he was going through divorce. And I'm not sharing anything that I haven't already written about. He talked about this on the record with me. And he said, I had to go home and my kids needed me. I had to go home and be dad when they were going through this divorce. And then he went to San Antonio for a year under Pop. And he was staying at, I think, Danny Ferry's house, sleeping on like kids' sheets in a twin bed.
No kidding.
And Pop called him, and there was a job that came open or something. I can't remember. And I was just thinking about this. I should have looked it up. Anyway, Pop called him after a year, and he said, Mike, Steve Kerr is going to call you and offer you the lead assistant job, and you are going to take it. Click. And Mike went, and that was it.
You don't argue with Pop.
And that was it. And so Mike went to Golden State and learned so much of the personal side, of the social side, working under Steve.
Tibbs did that too.
It has made Mike a complete, because I did a big profile on him when he was in Sacramento. He was a completely different coach. He learned so much from Steve, from taking a year off and just sort of working on himself, and then taking another year and sitting under Steve. And he came back a completely different coach. And now I wish him nothing. He got screwed in Sacramento, and I wish him nothing but success with the Knicks. But something like
I think he's going to find it.
But with Kevin, some time to just decompress.
Yeah.
You think it sucks being a Browns fan these last 2 years?
Yeah, try being a coach.
Well, try being the head coach.
Yeah, you can't turn
and
it
go,
off.
You can't. No, every day you got to wake up and you got to go do it again.
I feel
you gotta
worse for
wake
the
up and
fans
go do it
than
again.
I do for Stefanski.
Oh, yeah, he makes a lot of money.
The money
to do
makes
that.
it
I hear
different.
what you're saying.
And he's
but,
had to suffer for 2 years.
but-
Fans have had to suffer their whole lives.
but when you're living it
Yeah.
every single day, it is a different
And you
level.
can't escape. There's no escape. We can turn off the TV. We can turn off UCSS. We don't have to read the paper. There's a lot of things we can voluntarily do. When you're in it, you're in it.
You're in it.
And I mentioned, I'm glad you brought up the Brown thing, because I've mentioned this on the show before. Tibbs, when he was fired, did the same thing. Decided, you know what, I'm going to take a year. And he did a smart thing. He just reached out with his Rolodex and he just went team to team.
Yeah.
He just said, I just opened a notebook and I just started writing things down at practice, after practice, between, after a game, during games. I just started seeing things that I couldn't see before because the vehicle was moving too fast. And he said it was eye-opening to him. Now, you went to New York, things didn't work out there. Who knows how it's going to go? But sometimes clarity can be a good thing, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Stefanski said, if he were to be fired, I'm going to take a year. I'll have more to choose from next time around if he doesn't like the options this cycle, because I think that has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely.
If Pittsburgh comes open and they call him, well, that might be a
going.
call you have to take.
Yeah.
But if nothing is available that lines up with what he wants to do,
Why would you go to Carolina or Tennessee?
No, exactly. Well, you're going to Cleveland. You're going to Cleveland all over again.
Yeah.
So, just last thing. I know you want. There was so much more we could spend on this. Everyone always asks me, like, why? What possibly could you see? Why? What do teams see? Why would he be such a hot candidate? And the only thing I would say to that is, I'm telling, because I've said this before, like, when you take the emotion out of it, and everybody in Cleveland screams and hates him, and he's a terrible coach and terrible offense and terrible quarterbacks, da-da-da-da. I'm telling you how the rest of the league looks at it. The rest of the league looks at it and goes, okay, well, when they had a competent offense, when they had a top receiver in Amari Cooper, and they had a secondary option in David Njoku, he won 11 games with 5 different quarterbacks and went to the playoffs. So then what changed?
Yeah.
Well, they made him fire his offensive coordinator, and it all went to hell after that. So that's what the rest of the league is looking at. They're looking at Deshaun wrecked this entire thing, and the moves that they made to placate him, and some of this stuff, it just unraveled from there. So that's how the rest of the league is looking
without
at it.
emotion too. They can look at it level-headed.
Yeah.
Well,
and
but
see it.
Stefanski getting a total pass for all of this is a joke.
Nobody's getting a total pass.
Yeah.
If you get
shouldn't.
fired, you're not getting a pass. Like, you win 6
Well,
games or 7 games
from other
in 2
people
years,
you are that,
The rest of the league looks at Cleveland as you are fighting a boxing match with one hand tied behind your back.
All right, well, we'll
Because
see
of
how he does
ownership.
somewhere else.
Yeah,
We'll
I think we'll get the chance to do that.
And by the way, Jay, nobody under the age of 30 gets the Rolodex reference, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, kids.
Scroll through your phone. Scroll through your phone, your
I'm
contacts list.
sure Tibbs was probably using an actual Rolodex.
Oh, yeah, he probably was.
Tibbs definitely is. Guys, we have one more topic in before we bring in Zach Jackson. It's brought